I saw my fiancée cheating live at her bachelorette party. The next morning she smiled, kissed me, and acted like nothing happened. So I made one very specific call. The fog off the harbor always smelled like old pennies and wet rope. That night, it crawled up the hill and pressed its face against my apartment windows like it wanted in. I couldn't sleep. The engagement invitations were spread across the kitchen table in neat stacks. Family, friends, work people, like paper soldiers waiting for orders. Hannah loved how organized I was. She told everyone I was stable, like I was a kind of furniture you buy once and never worry about again. At 12:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. One little vibration that changed the temperature of the room. Hannah's Bachelorette, live. It was tagged downtown at the Gull House, the kind of place that charged extra for hand-cut ice and didn't actually cut anything by hand. I stared at the screen, half annoyed, half amused. She'd promised, hand on heart, that it would be chill. She'd used that word like it was a warranty. I tapped. The first 10 seconds were normal. A circle of women in matching shirts that said, Bride Tribe, all of them leaning into the camera with drunken confidence. Hannah was in the middle, hair down, cheeks flushed, glitter on her collarbone. She looked happy in that loud, careless way people look when they don't think tomorrow will ever come. Someone shrieked, "To Hannah! Last night of freedom!" They clinked glasses. The camera shook. I watched Hannah laugh, head thrown back, the sound swallowed by music. I felt the tiny sting of missing her, even though she was only a few miles away. It was ridiculous how love could still do that. Reach up and squeeze your throat right when your brain is trying to be smart. Then the camera swung toward a booth. A man's shoulder filled the frame, navy blazer, expensive haircut. He leaned back just enough for his face to appear, and I felt something inside me go quiet and hard, like a door locking. Grant. I'd met him twice. Once at a charity thing Hannah dragged me to, where Grant shook my hand too firmly and said, "You're a lucky guy." The second time was at a brunch where he'd laughed too loudly at Hannah's jokes and called her Han like it was his right. On the live stream, he was close to her. Too close. Their knees touched. Her hand was on his thigh, casual, like she'd put it there without thinking, like she'd done it before. The girl holding the phone giggled. "Oh, look at these two." Hannah said something I couldn't hear over the bass, but her mouth formed the shape of his name. He leaned in. She leaned in. Their foreheads touched, and for a split second, it looked like a private moment that had accidentally wandered into public. Then he kissed her. Not a quick peck. Not a drunk mistake you could pretend was a joke. A real kiss. A hungry one. The booth cheered. Someone shouted, "Get it, bride!" Hannah pulled back and smiled, lips shiny. She looked right toward the phone, like she knew she was being watched. And instead of stopping, she grabbed Grant's hand and stood up. They disappeared into the hallway beside the bathrooms, the camera following like a puppy. My thumb went numb. My heart did something stupid, like it tried to climb out of my chest and run away. I hit the volume button until it maxed out. Still, I couldn't hear everything, just fragments, laughter, a door clacking shut, and then the phone tilting down at the floor as if the girl filming suddenly remembered she had a conscience. I stared at the little spinning circle in the corner of the screen, the live icon pulsing red. My hand shook so hard the phone rattled against my palm. I called Hannah. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same. The fog pressed harder against the glass. Somewhere down the street, a buoy bell rang, slow and lonely. The whole town felt like it was holding its breath. I didn't go to rescue my relationship. I went to confirm it. Downtown was a wet neon bruise. The Gull House sign flickered between Gull and ULL like it couldn't commit to being real. Rain started as a mist and turned into needles by the time I parked 3 blocks away. My shoes slapped the sidewalk. People spilled out of bars, laughing, shoulders hunched, cigarettes glowing like fireflies. Nobody looked at me. In a town like ours, a man walking fast at 1 in the morning is either chasing something or being chased. Either way, you don't get involved. I tried the front door. A line of women in heels stared at me like I'd wandered into the wrong species. A bouncer blocked me with one thick arm. "Private party," he said. "I'm the fiancé," I said. The word felt strange in my mouth now, like a lie. He looked me over. "Wristband." "I don't have—" "Then you're not on the list." Behind him, I could see the glow of the bar, bodies moving, a flash of glitter. I could also see the hallway, the same hallway where my life had just been shoved. I swallowed the urge to push past him. I wasn't going to get hauled off for assault because my fiancé forgot what promises were. My phone buzzed with Mason's name. I answered without slowing down. "Dude," Mason said, voice thick with sleep. "Why are you calling me like the building's on fire?" "It is," I said. "Hannah's live. She's with Grant." Silence. Then, "With Grant? How?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Mason exhaled, the sound of a man realizing his buddy's world just cracked. "Where are you?" "Outside the Gull House." "Okay, listen to me. Don't do anything that puts you in handcuffs. Handcuffs are for people who still have hope." I almost laughed. It came out as something uglier. I circled the building. Rain slicked the brick. A side alley ran between the bar and an old bait shop, the kind that never closed because fishermen never stopped making bad decisions. I heard laughter, a man's laugh. Sharp, cocky. Grant stepped out the back door, tucking his phone into his pocket. He lit a cigarette, shoulders relaxed like he didn't have a care in the world, like he hadn't just taken a bite out of my future. I ducked behind a trash dumpster. My heart pounded so hard it hurt my ears. I told myself to breathe. I told myself I was thinking, not reacting. Grant flicked ash. He smiled at someone inside. Then he turned toward the street. I followed, staying back. He walked like he owned the sidewalk, like the world was a hotel and he'd tipped the bellhop. He rounded the corner toward the ride-share pickup zone where cars idled in a messy line. I picked up speed. He glanced over his shoulder. His eyes met mine. Recognition snapped across his face, quick and bright. For a second he froze. Then he smirked, actually smirked, and quickened his pace. I quickened mine. The rain hit harder. Tires hissed. Somewhere a siren wailed, distant and bored. Grant shoved into the line of people and yanked open the back door of a black SUV. The driver yelled, "Hey, you gotta—" Grant slammed the door and the SUV lurched forward. I got close enough to slap the rear window, leaving a wet handprint. Grant looked out at me through the glass. His smile widened, and he lifted his hand in a tiny wave. I stood there, rain running down my face, watching his taillights vanish. No felonies, I told myself. Not for a man who borrows other people's fiancés. My phone buzzed, a text from Hannah. "Stop being dramatic. I'm safe. Love you." The live icon was still pulsing red on my screen. Hannah came home at 8:13 a.m., carrying a bag of pastries like she'd been out buying groceries instead of lighting a match under my life. Her hair was messy in the cute way that used to make me reach for her. She smelled like vanilla perfume and last night's alcohol, and there was a tiny smear of glitter on her cheekbone. It caught the morning light like a mocking star. "Hey," she said, soft. "I brought you those blueberry things you like." She walked up, stood on her toes, and kissed me. It wasn't a sloppy, guilty kiss. It was the same kiss she'd always given me, warm, practiced, automatic, like she'd hit a switch marked normal. Her lipstick brushed my mouth. Her hand rested on my chest. I felt my body try to respond out of habit, like a dog wagging its tail for the person holding the leash. I didn't kiss back. Her smile twitched. "What's wrong with you?" I looked at her and thought about how many mornings I'd watched her brush her teeth, how many nights I'd listened to her breathe beside me. I thought about the wedding binder on the counter, full of vendor contracts with my signature at the bottom. "I saw your live stream," I said. Her eyes widened just enough to be believable. What live stream? I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. Anger was too precious to waste on volume. The one where you were kissing Grant. She blinked. Then she laughed, light, dismissive. The laugh she used when she wanted to smooth something sharp. Oh my God. Caleb, it was a joke. Everyone was filming everything. People exaggerate. You kissed him in a hallway. Her face hardened for half a second, then softened again. She reached for my hand like she could tug me back into being the version of myself she preferred. Babe, I was drunk. It was nothing. You're turning this into a thing. I stared at her hand on mine and felt something detach inside me, clean and quiet. Her nails were freshly done, pale pink with little gold flecks. 2 days ago, she'd held her hand up to show me like it was a new car. I'd kissed her knuckles. I'd said it looked perfect. Now all I could think was those fingers were on him. You didn't call, I said. I told you I was safe, she replied, like that covered everything, like safety was the same as loyalty. Safe doesn't mean faithful. Hannah's eyes flashed. Do you hear yourself? You're acting like I slept with him. I didn't answer. The terrible part wasn't the uncertainty. It was the way she was trying to make the uncertainty the main point. A magician waving a hand so you don't look at the other hand. She stepped closer and lowered her voice, sweet as syrup. Caleb, you're stressed. Work's been wearing you down. You've been weird for months. This is you spiraling. There it was. My stress as her excuse, my fatigue as her alibi. I thought about the overtime I'd taken to cover wedding deposits, the extra Saturday inspections, the quiet pride I'd felt when I could pay for something without borrowing. I've been weird, I said slowly, because I've been building a life for us. Her jaw tightened, and I appreciate it. That's why I'm saying, don't throw it away over a stupid clip. Stupid, I repeated. It's not like he means anything, she insisted. Grant is just fun. He listens. He makes me feel. She stopped herself, but it was too late. The word fun hung between us like smoke. So I'm not fun, I said. That's not what I meant, she snapped, losing the syrup. Why are you doing this? Why can't you just trust me? Trust. The word sounded obscene in her mouth. I picked up my coffee mug, took a sip, and tasted nothing. My mouth was numb. If it was nothing, I said, why did you turn your phone off when I called? I didn't. You did, I said. I saw it go straight to voicemail, again and again. Hannah's cheeks reddened. Because you were going to freak out and ruin my night, which you are doing, right now. I set the mug down gently. I didn't want to give her anything she could label scary. I'm not ruining your night, I said. I'm ending it. Her eyes widened. What does that mean? It means I'm not playing pretend with you anymore, I said. Not in my home, not with my money, not with my name. She stared at me like she couldn't process the idea of me refusing the role she'd written for me. Then her face shifted again, quick as a weather change. You can't just end it, she said, voice trembling. We've told everyone. My dad already paid for the rehearsal dinner. The contracts are in my binder, I said. Most of them are in my name. That's controlling, she whispered, and I almost laughed at the audacity, the way she could cheat and still find a way to accuse me of being the problem. I didn't raise my voice. No, I said. That's just how paperwork works. Hannah's phone buzzed again, and she looked down like it might save her. When she looked back up, her gaze sharpened into something mean. If you do something to embarrass me, she said, I will make sure everyone knows what kind of person you are. I tilted my head. What kind? The kind who spies, she hissed. The kind who can't satisfy his fiancée, so she has to go find excitement. My chest tightened. For a moment I saw red, hot, stupid. I pictured grabbing the wedding binder and hurling it through the window. Instead, I simply said, thank you. She blinked. For what? For showing me who I'm dealing with, I said. Her face went still. The mask slipped, just for a second, and I saw contempt there. Real contempt. Like I'd disappointed her by having a spine. That was when I knew. Whatever love I'd had for her wasn't gone. It was irrelevant. Where were you at 1:12 a.m.? I asked. She answered too fast. In the bathroom with the girls. That was the wrong answer. The video timestamp was burned into my brain. 1:12 a.m. was the moment the hallway door clicked shut. I took my phone from the counter, unlocked it, and pulled up the clip I'd saved. Not the whole messy live stream. Someone had already clipped the important part and reposted it like it was a highlight reel. Now, it had a caption. Bride behavior. It had been shared 3,000 times. Hannah's mouth opened, then closed. Color rose in her neck. You saved that? She whispered, like I'd committed a bigger sin than she had. It's spreading, I said. People saw it. Her eyes flashed. So you're going to embarrass me? I almost admired the speed of her pivot, the way she made herself the victim without even warming up. I'm not embarrassing you, I said. You did that. Hannah's phone buzzed. She looked down, then back up at me with something like panic under her anger. Don't do anything stupid, she said. I smiled, and it felt wrong on my face. I'm done doing stupid things. The parking lot of Harbor Hardware was empty except for a cart corral and a seagull pecking at something tragic. Dark clouds rolled in from the ocean, making the morning look bruised. I sat in my truck with my hands on the wheel, not starting the engine. My phone was in my lap. It felt heavier than usual, like it was made of lead instead of glass. Mason had texted me, "Stay calm, be surgical." I stared at the wedding binder on the passenger seat. Hannah and I had built that thing like it was a small business. I'd signed the contracts. I'd put down the deposits. Hannah had picked colors and fonts and argued about table linens like any of it mattered. All that money, all that planning, all that trust. I tapped the number for the venue coordinator, a woman named Paige, who spoke like she was smiling. Good morning, Seacliff Manor, she answered. This is Paige. Paige, I said. This is Caleb Hart, contract number 2187. Oh, hi, Caleb. How's everything? We're so excited for... I need to pause the event, I said. Silence. A small one. Professional. Okay, Paige said carefully. Can you tell me why? Personal reasons, I said. I'm the signer. I'm requesting a hold while we review. That would mean the date becomes unavailable until... I understand, I said. Please email me confirmation. And Paige? Yes? I'll be following up about refunds according to the contract, but for now, I need it paused today. Paige inhaled. I'll send the email. Thank you. I hung up and immediately called catering, then the photographer, then the DJ, one after another, the same calm voice, the same simple request. Pause, cancel, stop. With every call, I felt something in me tighten and settle, like I'd finally found a lever in a room full of broken buttons. Between calls, I opened the binder and checked what I already knew in my bones. Names, dates, payment schedules, cancellation clauses written in polite language that basically said, life happens and someone pays. Hannah had skimmed those pages like they were boring menus. I'd read them like they were weather reports. Maybe that should have been my first clue. When two people plan a future, the one who reads the fine print is usually the one who ends up carrying the consequences. I called my cousin Leah, who worked as a paralegal in the next county. Not a dramatic, lawyer-up moment, just a human being who knew what words meant on paper. Caleb? Leah answered, startled. Is everything okay? No, I said. I need a quick reality check. If I'm the contract signer, I can pause everything, right? Leah exhaled. You can request a pause or cancellation. Refunds depend on the clause, but you're not kidnapping a wedding date. You're just exercising the contract. That's all I want, I said. I want clean. I want legal. Then keep everything in writing, she said. No threats, no public rants, save receipts. If she tries to claim you did something abusive, you stay boring. Boring wins. Boring wins. I like that. After Leah, I called the bank, not Coastal Bank, not Grant's Place, but my own. Asked them to remove Hannah's access to my savings. The representative's voice was polite and unaware of the storm inside my head. Any particular reason? She asked. Relationship change, I said. She didn't ask more. I changed the passwords too, not petty, just making sure the door stayed shut. Then I went back to the vendor list and kept calling. Catering. Paused. Photographer. Paused. Florist. Paused. The more confirmations I collected, the less Hannah's voice mattered. She could scream. She could cry. She could tell the town I was crazy. Paper didn't care. Last, I called a locksmith. I need the locks rekeyed today, I said. Apartment entry. My name's on the lease. Earliest is 2, the locksmith said. 2, I repeated. Do it. I ended the call and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked normal. I looked like a guy who might be going to buy nails and a tarp. Hannah called while I was still sitting there. Her name lit up my screen like a dare. I answered. Hey, she said, voice bright, forced. You want brunch? My head hurts. I need pancakes, like, medically. I pictured her in the kitchen an hour ago, kissing me like nothing happened. We need to talk, I said. Can it wait? I'm with the girls. No, I said. It can't. Her breath caught. Caleb, don't do anything crazy. I looked out at the gray sky, the empty parking lot, the seagull still pecking. I'm not, I said. I'm doing something specific. She started to speak, but my phone buzzed with an incoming email. Seacliff Manor, event status update. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. The domino had already tipped. A second later, Hannah's voice turned sharp. What did you do? By noon, the wind had teeth. It rattled the windows, threw salt against the glass, made the town sound like it was chewing on aluminum foil. Hannah was blowing up my phone. Calls, texts, voice notes. The emotional weather changed every 30 seconds. Rage, tears, sweetness, threats. I didn't answer. I sat at the table with my laptop open and built a file. Not a revenge manifesto. A packet. A timeline. I labeled it simply, Heart-Wedding Issue. The kind of boring title nobody questions. The kind of title that doesn't sound like anger. I wrote down times in a notebook because my brain didn't trust itself. Midnight. Notification. 12:55. Kiss. 1:12. Hallway door. 1:26. Hotel entrance. 8:13. Pastries and a kiss like I was a lamp. Putting it in ink made it real. It also made it feel like a crime scene, and that scared me because I didn't want to be the guy collecting evidence on the woman he loved. But love had already left the building. I was just cleaning up what it knocked over. I checked our shared calendar. Bridal brunch, dress fitting, cake tasting. Hannah had filled the week with happy little blocks like she could schedule joy. My phone buzzed again with another voice note from her. I didn't open it. I archived it. I couldn't let her voice become a spell. Mason watched me type and said, Do you want me to call her? Tell her to stop? No, I said. If she talks to anyone, it should be the version of me that's calm, not the version that's tired. You're doing good, Mason said carefully. Don't say that, I said. It makes it sound like this is a test. He nodded. Okay, you're doing real. Outside, the wind slammed something against the building. It sounded like a fist on a door. I flinched anyway. I printed the clip screenshots because paper has a way of making digital things stick. I put them in a folder. I didn't know who would need to see them, but I was done being unprepared. Then I opened the rideshare receipt again and stared at it until it felt like my eyes were burning. Pickup, drop off, driver name, time. A neat little record of betrayal, itemized. That was when the unknown number called. I saved the clipped video. I took screenshots of the timestamp and the location tag. I pulled up our shared rideshare account and found the receipt from last night. Pick up at the Gull House, drop off at a hotel 3 blocks away. It wasn't proof of what happened in the room, but it was proof of lying. I downloaded our phone plan logs. I didn't need to read every line. I searched for Grant's number. It popped up like weeds. Missed calls, late-night texts, the kind of pattern you only get when something has roots. Mason knocked at one and came in without waiting, holding 2 coffees like offerings. He took one look at my face and set the cups down. "You okay?" "No," I said, "but I'm organized." He sat across from me and watched the screen. "You're making a case file." "I'm making reality," I said, "so nobody can rewrite it." Mason nodded slowly. "Smart." My phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't Hannah. "Unknown number," I answered. "Yeah?" A young woman's voice, nervous. "Is this Caleb, Hannah's fiancé?" "Not for long," I said. She hesitated. "This is Tessa. I'm one of the bridesmaids." I recognized her from pictures, always in the background, smiling too wide. Hannah called her sweet, the kind of sweet that can rot. "What do you want?" I asked. I saw the clip going around," Tessa said. "And I think you should see the uncut version." I didn't speak. Tessa rushed on, voice fluttering. "I don't want to get dragged into drama, but people are already blaming me and I didn't even post the worst part. I have the full video." "Why are you calling me?" I asked. She swallowed. "Because Hannah's going to spin it, and because she's not a good person, Caleb." That landed like a pebble in a still pond, ripples spreading. I thought about the way Hannah had kissed me this morning, like I was furniture. "What do you want?" I asked again. "A guarantee you won't say it was me," Tessa said. "If you use it. I don't want Hannah's fans coming for me." Hannah didn't have fans, but she had friends, and friends in a small town could be meaner than strangers. "Send it," I said, "and I won't use your name." Tessa exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. "Okay, I'll message it." A minute later, a video file arrived. I clicked play. The camera was angled from across the booth, steadier than the live stream. Hannah and Grant were pressed close. Their mouths moved. The music was loud, but Tessa had been close enough that the microphone caught pieces. Grant said, "You sure about the wedding?" Hannah laughed. "Caleb's stable. He'll never leave. He's too convenient." Convenient. She said it like a compliment. Mason's face went pale. Jesus. I watched Hannah smile at Grant, then lean in and whisper, "We just have to get through it." I paused the video, not because I couldn't handle it, but because I needed to keep breathing. The wind howled outside, a long animal sound. In my chest, something else howled, quieter. I didn't cry. I didn't punch a wall. I didn't throw my laptop. I saved the file. Then I looked at Mason and said, "I'm going to talk to Grant." Mason's eyes widened. "Today?" "Today," I said, "before he has time to decide he's brave." Grant worked at Coastal Bank's main branch, a glass building with a lobby that smelled like money and sanitizer. The parking garage was dim, concrete sweating in the storm. Fluorescent lights flickered like they were tired of pretending. I parked 2 rows away from Grant's car. I knew it because Hannah had pointed it out once, like it was impressive. "He's doing really well," she'd said. Like that mattered. Mason insisted on coming, but he stayed in my truck, watching, ready to call for help if I did something dumb. That was the deal. Grant appeared 10 minutes later, walking fast, jacket over his head. He fumbled with his keys, cursing under his breath. I stepped out from behind a pillar. "Grant," I said. He froze. Then he smiled, like this was some awkward joke at a party. "Caleb," he said. "Man, hey, listen, about last night." "Don't," I said. The smile flickered. "She told you it was nothing." I took out my phone. I didn't wave it around. I just held it like a scalpel. "I have the uncut video," I said. Grant's eyes tightened. "You're creeping on her? That's—" I hit play. I turned the volume up enough for the words to be clear. "Caleb's stable. He'll never leave. He's too convenient." Grant's face drained like someone had pulled a plug. "She said that?" he whispered. I stepped closer. My heart was steady now. That scared me more than anger ever had. "You knew she was engaged," I said. "You still did it." Grant swallowed. His throat bobbed. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that," I said. "And now you're going to listen." He tried to shift around me, but I moved too, blocking him, not touching, not yet. "What do you want?" he asked, voice tight. "I want you to understand something," I said. "You're not special. You're a symptom. She picked you because you were easy." Grant's jaw flexed. "You don't know her." I laughed low. "I knew her yesterday morning." A car drove past, headlights washing us in pale light. Grant glanced toward it, then back at me. "You going to hit me?" he asked. "No," I said. "I'm not giving you that story." He blinked, confused. I took one step in, close enough that he could smell the coffee on my breath. "You have a job that cares about reputation," I said quietly. "You have a girlfriend, right? The one who posts pictures of you like you're a prize?" Grant's eyes widened. "Don't." "I'm not threatening you," I said. "I'm explaining consequences, facts, like a banker should appreciate." His hands clenched. "She told me you were okay with open stuff." I stared at him. Did that sound like me? Grant hesitated, and in that hesitation I saw it. He'd wanted to believe whatever made him feel less like a thief. I reached out and took his umbrella from his hand. It was a small thing, but he flinched like I'd grabbed his throat. "You don't get to borrow people's lives," I said. Grant's eyes flashed. He lunged, not a real punch, more of a desperate shove, a man trying to reclaim dignity. I stepped aside and let him stumble into the concrete wall. His shoulder hit with a thud. He cursed. I grabbed his blazer collar, pulled him close once, just once, and said, "If you ever come near my home again, I won't need videos." Then I let go. We stood there, breathing. The garage lights flickered again. Somewhere above us, thunder rolled like furniture being dragged across the sky. Grant's phone rang. He looked down at the screen and went pale. "Answer it," I said. He hesitated. I didn't move. He answered. "Hello?" A woman's voice came through, sharp and loud enough for me to hear. "Is it true? Is it you in that video? Because my mom just sent it to me." Grant's face crumpled. "Babe, listen." I turned and walked away, the umbrella in my hand like a trophy I didn't want. Behind me, Grant's voice rose, panicked, pleading. Mason met my eyes through the truck window as I got in. He didn't smile. He just nodded like a man watching a storm do what storms do. My phone buzzed. "Hannah," I finally answered. "Where are you?" she hissed. "What are you doing?" I looked at the gray sky and said, "Ending it." By the time I got back to the apartment, the storm had eaten the afternoon. The sky was the color of bruised steel, the kind of sky that makes you check your windows and wonder what else might break. Mason followed me inside and shut the door. He glanced at the stacked boxes by the entry and whistled softly. "You really did it." "I did paperwork," I said. "The rest is just gravity." We didn't have long to sit with it. At 3:06 p.m., someone pounded on the door like they were trying to knock sense into the wood. 3 hard hits, then a pause, then 3 more. Hannah's voice came through, high and furious. "Caleb, open the door!" Mason and I looked at each other. He lifted his eyebrows, silent question. I walked to the door and spoke through it. "I'm not opening it." "You changed the locks?" Hannah's voice sharpened into disbelief. That is insane. It's my lease, I said. Let me in, she demanded. My stuff is in there. It's in boxes, I said. By the door. The pounding started again. You can't do this to me. A neighbor's door across the hall cracked open. Mrs. Dorsey peeked out, hair in rollers, eyes wide. She'd lived here longer than anyone and collected gossip like stamps. I raised my voice just enough for her to hear. Hannah, stop. I'm not fighting with you in the hallway. Mrs. Dorsey's eyebrows shot up. She didn't close her door. Hannah lowered her voice, sweet again. Caleb, please, we can talk. Just open the door. This is embarrassing. You didn't mind embarrassing me, I said. Silence. Then Hannah said, cold, So you're really doing this? I breathed in through my nose, out through my mouth. I kept myself steady. I'm handing you your things, I said. That's it. I cracked the door open with the chain on, just enough to slide the first box through. Hannah lunged, trying to shove the door. The chain caught. The door jerked, rattling the frame. Mason stepped forward behind me, not threatening, just present. Hannah stared at him. Of course, she spat. You've got your little bodyguard. Mason's voice was quiet. Hannah, stop. You're making it worse. Hannah laughed, brittle. Worse than what? Caleb playing detective? Caleb acting like a victim because his fiancée had one fun night? One? I asked. That's what you're calling it? Her eyes flashed. Fine. Weeks. Happy? It's been weeks. The words landed with a thud. Mrs. Dorsey gasped softly across the hall like she'd just been handed a gift. Hannah realized what she'd said. Her face changed, but she didn't take it back. Instead, she doubled down, anger turning her brave. You were always working, she snapped. Always tired, always responsible. I felt like I was marrying a spreadsheet. I kept my voice level. So you slept with a banker. I didn't. She stopped, her lips curled. Whatever, I don't owe you details. The truth was, I didn't want details. Details were poison you drank on purpose. I slid the second box out. Hannah grabbed it, clutching it like it was a hostage. Is this what you want? She demanded. To make me homeless? You have friends, I said. You have your parents. You have Grant. At the name, her eyes darted away. That was new. That was fear. He's panicking, she said quickly. He's calling me nonstop. He says you went to his job. I didn't deny it. I let the silence do the work. Hannah's voice dropped. Caleb, if you keep going, people are going to hate me. I almost smiled. You called me convenient on camera. You already decided how much people should respect me. Her face crumpled for a moment, the mask slipping. Then she hardened again. You think you're winning, she whispered. But you don't know what you're doing. You're not the kind of guy who destroys things. I leaned close to the crack in the door, chain still on, my voice low. Neither were you, I said. I slid the last box out. Then I closed the door. The new lock clicked, sharp, final. Hannah stood on the other side, breathing hard. For a long second, she didn't move. Then she said something I couldn't hear clearly. A curse, maybe. A prayer. Her footsteps retreated down the hall. Mason let out a slow breath. You okay? I stared at the door, at the place where her shadow had been. I'm still standing, I said. That's enough. Outside, thunder rolled again. The storm was moving inland. So was the fallout. Seacliff Manor sat on the bluff like a fancy ghost, white pillars and manicured lawns pretending the ocean wind didn't exist. Today the wind proved it did. It bent the ornamental trees. It whipped rain sideways. It made the flags snap like gunshots. This was supposed to be our rehearsal day. Vendors would have been arriving. Hannah's relatives would have been gushing. My mother would have been pretending not to cry. Instead, cars pulled up and people got out holding umbrellas, looking confused. Phones were out. Whispering traveled faster than the rain. Mason parked behind me and followed at a distance. Not hovering, just there, like a shadow with a conscience. On the drive up, my mother called. I watched her name pulse on the dashboard screen and felt my stomach drop. I answered anyway. "Hey, Mom." Her voice was already tight. "Caleb, what is going on? Your Aunt Lila just texted me that the venue is on hold. People are saying there's a video. Small towns don't do secrets. They do rumors, served hot." "I'm handling it," I said. "Handling it how?" she asked, and I could hear the fear behind the anger. Fear that she'd raised a man who would do something reckless. Fear that she'd raised a man who would be hurt. "I'm not going to hurt anyone," I said. "I'm just ending something that shouldn't go forward." A pause. Then her voice softened. "Are you safe?" The question squeezed my throat. "Yeah," I said. "I'm safe." "Then come by after," she said. "Don't be alone tonight." "I won't," I promised, though I wasn't sure what alone meant anymore. I hung up and stared at the manor as it came into view, white against the storm like a wedding cake left out in bad weather. Cars lined the drive. People were arriving because they'd been told to arrive, because plans have momentum even when love is gone. I parked, stepped out, and immediately got hit with wind so hard it made my eyes water. The rain tasted like salt. Somewhere down below, the ocean roared like it was laughing. This wasn't a stage I'd wanted, but it was the stage Hannah had built, and now she was going to stand on it. Hannah stormed across the gravel drive in a white coat that made her look like a bride already. Her hair was perfect. Her face was not. "You absolute psycho!" she spat the second she reached me. I didn't flinch. "Hello, Hannah." "You canceled everything," she snapped. "Do you know how humiliating this is?" I looked at the guests arriving, their expressions a mix of sympathy and curiosity. In a town like ours, a canceled wedding is entertainment. "You humiliated yourself," I said. Her eyes flashed. "You're punishing me for a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake," I said. "It was a decision." She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "Stop this. Right now, we can talk privately." I glanced at her hand on my sleeve. "You like private." Her hand dropped like it had been burned. People were watching. Hannah sensed it too. She straightened, smoothed her coat, and pasted on a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I don't know what Caleb thinks he saw," she said loudly, to the air, to the crowd, to the universe. "But he's overreacting." There it was. The rewrite attempt. The version where I was unstable and she was misunderstood. I didn't do it right away. I let the moment stretch, let the crowd feel the weight of waiting. Hannah's father wasn't there yet, but her aunt was, standing under an umbrella with a face like she'd bitten into something sour. My co-worker Devin stood near the steps, eyes darting between me and Hannah, looking like he wished he'd stayed home and watched the storm from his couch. Hannah's smile started to crack. She leaned in and hissed, "If you do this, I will never forgive you." I met her eyes. "You already decided you didn't need my forgiveness," I said. Her nostrils flared. She was shaking now, not from cold, from loss of control. That was Hannah's real addiction, not attention. "Control," Mason murmured. "Last chance to walk away." I shook my head. "Walking away is later," I said. "First, I make sure nobody can pretend I'm crazy." Then I pulled out my phone. Mason stepped closer, not stopping me, just ready. Hannah's smile faltered. "Don't." I tapped play. I held the phone up, not like a weapon, but like a mirror. The clip was short. 15 seconds. Booth. Kiss. Hallway. A few gasps. One woman put a hand over her mouth. Someone muttered, "Oh my God." Hannah's face turned waxy. "That's edited," she said quickly. "That's..." I switched to the audio file. I let the words speak, clean and simple. "Caleb's stable. He'll never leave. He's too... convenient." Silence fell like a blanket. Hannah's mother arrived at that moment, stepping out of a car with an umbrella and a hopeful expression that faded as soon as she saw the crowd. "Hannah," she said. Hannah's eyes darted between faces. Her voice rose. "It was one stupid night." I shook my head. "No," I said. "You said it started weeks ago." Hannah froze. I hadn't meant to say it like that. It slipped out because the truth was heavy and my mouth was tired. Her eyes widened, and for the first time she looked genuinely scared. "Caleb," she said, low, "don't." I stared at her and realized she hadn't been scared of losing me. She'd been scared of losing the story. A man in a gray suit pushed through the crowd. Grant. Soaked, hair plastered, eyes wild. He looked like he'd run here. "Hannah!" he shouted. The crowd parted for him like instinct. People love a second act. Hannah's face twisted. "What are you doing here?" Grant held up his phone, shaking. "My girlfriend dumped me. My boss called me into HR. They're saying—" Hannah snapped, "Not now." Grant's eyes flicked to me. Hatred flared, then something weaker. Panic. "You did this," he said. I didn't deny it. I didn't brag. I just said, "You did it first." Thunder cracked overhead. The manor's lights flickered. For a second, the whole place looked like it might go dark, like the universe wanted to spare us the rest. But the lights stayed on. So did the truth. Rain hammered the manor roof. The wind screamed through the columns. Guests huddled under awnings, phones out, whispering, recording. In the distance, the ocean was a black mouth opening and closing. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. Not rage, focus. It was the same feeling I got at work when a job site went sideways and everyone looked at me like I was supposed to pull order out of chaos. The difference was, at work, nobody kissed a banker behind my back and called me convenient. In my jacket pocket, my phone buzzed with new notifications. A cousin, a coworker, a number I didn't recognize. People were choosing sides without even speaking to me. That was the other fun part about living where we lived. Your pain didn't belong to you. It belonged to the audience. Before I came here, I'd emailed myself the packet, video clips, screenshots, call logs, and one clean paragraph summarizing what happened with dates and times. Leah's advice echoed, keep it in writing, keep it boring, keep it undeniable. I didn't want to destroy Hannah out of spite. I wanted to cut the cord cleanly so she couldn't drag me back into her story later and claim I was the one who snapped. If she was going to fall, she was going to fall because she stepped off the edge, not because I pushed. Grant arrived like a bad idea given legs. He pushed through the crowd, soaked, hair plastered, eyes darting. He looked around like he expected someone to applaud him for showing up. When he spotted Hannah, relief flooded his face, then vanished when he saw her expression. She wasn't relief. She was danger. Hannah stood between me and Grant like she could control the chaos by positioning her body. Her mascara had started to run, thin black lines down her cheeks, ruining the perfect face she'd curated. "You're enjoying this?" she accused, voice shaking. "No," I said. "I'm surviving it." Grant stepped forward, eyes hard. "You think you're some hero? You're just jealous." "Jealous?" I repeated. "Of what? A man who needs permission to be a bad person?" Grant flinched. He looked at Hannah, desperate. "Tell him to stop. Tell him to fix it." Hannah's laugh was hysterical. "Fix it? You ruined everything." The crowd murmured. Someone's flash went off. In a small town, humiliation becomes currency fast. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone again. Not to play a video, not to show proof, to make a call. Mason's hand touched my shoulder, gentle. "You sure?" I nodded. "I'm done being convenient." I dialed a number I'd already saved. A client contact at Coastal Bank, someone Grant had bragged about courting for a big account. I'd met the guy once at a chamber meeting. He'd given me his card because he wanted to refinance my truck company's equipment. Small towns make strange connections. The phone rang. Grant's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer him. I waited. A man picked up, brisk. "This is Alan." "Alan," I said. "This is Caleb Hart. We met at the chamber breakfast." Pause. "Yeah, Caleb. What's up?" "I'm calling to withdraw our application," I said, loud enough for Grant to hear. "And I'm also calling as a courtesy to tell you why." Grant took a step toward me. Mason stepped between us without touching him, just existing as a barrier. Hannah's mouth opened. "Caleb," I continued, voice calm, "your senior associate Grant Pierce has been involved in conduct that concerns me. I have video and time-stamped evidence connected to a public incident last night." The line went quiet for a beat. "Send it to me," Alan said, tone changing. "I will," I said. "I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm informing you." "Understood," Alan said. "Thank you for the heads up." I ended the call. For a second, nothing happened. I didn't stop there. I opened my email app with hands that were steady now, steadier than they had any right to be. I attached the packet to a new message addressed to Alan with one sentence in the body. "Attached for your review. I'm available if you need clarification." Then I hit send. The little whoosh sound was tiny, almost cute. It didn't match the moment at all. But that was reality. Big consequences delivered by small clicks. I slid my phone back into my pocket. Hannah stared at me like she'd just watched a stranger walk out of my skin. "You planned that," she whispered. "I planned my exit," I said. "You planned your double life." Her lips trembled. "You can't just burn everything down." "I didn't," I said. I turned off the gas. The rain kept falling. The wind kept pushing. Hannah's breathing sounded too loud. Then Grant's phone rang again. He looked at the screen and went gray. "Answer it," I said, same as before. Grant's fingers trembled as he swiped. "Hello?" A woman's voice exploded from the speaker, tight and official. "Grant, this is HR. We need you to come in immediately. Do not contact any clients. Do you understand?" Grant's mouth moved, but no sound came out. "Grant?" The voice snapped. Yeah," he croaked. The call ended. Grant stared at his phone like it had bitten him. He looked at Hannah, and for a moment I saw something ugly and simple in his eyes. Blame. "You told me?" he whispered. "You told me it was safe." Hannah's face twisted. "Don't you dare put this on me." Grant stepped back, shaking his head, and then he turned and walked away into the rain, shoulders collapsing like a puppet with cut strings. The crowd watched him go. Hannah's mother finally reached us then, umbrella twisted by the wind. Her face was white, shocked into honesty. "Hannah," she said again, like she could say it enough times to turn back the clock. "Tell me this isn't—" Hannah snapped. "Not now!" Her mother flinched like she'd been slapped. That was the moment Hannah lost more than a wedding. She lost the illusion that she could treat people like props without consequence. Hannah's father arrived a heartbeat later, stomping across the gravel in a soaked suit, jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. "What the hell is happening?" he demanded. Hannah lifted her chin. "Caleb is having a breakdown. He's trying to ruin me because he's jealous." I looked at her father and said, "Ask her about the hotel at 1:26 a.m. Hannah's father blinked. "Hotel?" Hannah's eyes widened, then narrowed. "You followed me?" "I watched the door," I said, "because I needed to know whether I was losing my mind or losing my fiancée." Her father stared at her. "Hannah?" Hannah's mouth opened, closed. She didn't answer. She couldn't, not with an audience and a storm and the truth soaked into everything. She spun back to me, voice shaking. "Okay, fine, I screwed up. But you're taking it too far?" "Too far," I repeated. "You mean too public." Her breath hitched. "You're enjoying this," she said again, like she needed that to be true so she wouldn't have to feel what she'd done. I took a small step closer. "I am not enjoying it," I said. "I'm paying attention. That's all. For once in my life, I'm paying attention." Hannah's eyes searched mine for something. Mercy, softness, the old convenient me. I gave her none. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the ring box. Hannah's eyes locked on it, hungry. "You're giving it back?" I opened it. The ring glittered under the gray light, ridiculous and beautiful. I held it up so she could see it clearly. "This was supposed to mean something," I said. "Now it's just metal." Her throat moved. "Caleb, please." I closed the box and pressed it into her palm. She flinched like it was hot. "Keep it," I said. "Sell it. Throw it in the ocean. I don't care, but it doesn't live in my pocket anymore." Her hand shook around the box. For a second, she looked like she might crumble. Then her face twisted into anger, and she said, "You think you're so righteous." I leaned in close, not touching, my voice low so only she could hear. "No," I said. "I think I was stupid." Her eyes flashed. "You'll regret this." I nodded once. "Maybe," I said, "but I won't regret you touching my face this morning like nothing happened." A few people laughed. Quiet, mean. Hannah's bridesmaids, her tribe, stood together under an awning. Tessa was among them, eyes wide, not meeting Hannah's gaze. One by one, they drifted away from Hannah like she was contagious. Hannah stood alone in the open, rain soaking her coat, mascara bleeding, hair starting to curl, the perfect picture turning into something human and messy. She looked at me, voice small now. "So that's it? You're just done?" I thought about the morning kiss, the pastries, the word convenient. I leaned close enough that only she could hear me over the storm. "I was stable," I said. "You were reckless. Now you get to be free." Her eyes filled with tears, real ones this time. The rain was cold on my scalp, but I barely felt it. My body was running on some strange, calm fuel, like shock had decided to be useful for once. Halfway to the truck, I heard Hannah call my name again, soft this time, almost like the first day we met at the pier when she'd laughed at my bad joke and said I seemed different. I stopped, not to go back, just to let the sound pass through me and out. Mason didn't speak. He didn't have to. He was there, and that was enough. I got into the driver's seat and shut the door. The storm muted the world to a dull roar. My hands rested on the steering wheel. For a moment I watched the manor in the mirror. White columns, dark sky, people scattered like spilled pieces from a board game. Hannah stood in the middle of it, holding the ring box, rain soaking her hair, her perfect story dissolving in real time. On the dash, the clock blinked 4:17 like it was proud of itself. My phone lit up with one last message from Hannah. Just my name, no apology, no anger, only a dot of panic. I didn't answer. I deleted it. Not to be cruel, to be clean. Outside, the storm kept talking, but inside the cab there was only my breathing, steady and unfamiliar, like I'd borrowed it from someone braver. My hand stopped shaking. That scared me because it meant the old me had left for good today. Then I put the truck in gear. I stepped back. I turned toward my truck. Mason fell in beside me. Behind us, Hannah made a sound like an animal that's been trapped and suddenly realizes the trap was built by its own hands. I didn't look back.